What's up, guys, and welcome to the Foot and Fist Sports Network, where today I'm going to be talking about UFC 198. I'm going to bring you a little bit of a preview of what to expect from the card, starting off with Demian Maia versus Matt Brown. Now, I personally think this is probably going to be one of the better fights on the card, just because Matt Brown is there. Anytime Matt Brown fights, you cannot miss it. He always seems to have this first round where he gets destroyed, and then in the second or third round, he just starts to really come back and really put a beating on somebody. We've seen that against Eric Silva in particular, where that was one of the best fights I have ever seen. And I'm not sure if it's going to be similar against Demian Maia, just because Demian Maia doesn't quite have the striking capacity of guys like that. But his jiu-jitsu is some of the best in the world. So it'll be interesting to see if Matt Brown does get to the ground, what he's going to be able to do, if he can survive, and if he can make another similar comeback like he does in a lot of his other fights. I think it's going to be one of the better fights. I think Matt Brown is just going to be able to edge it out because he's so gritty, he's so tough, and there's no quit in that man. I think Demian Maia might not be able to last 3 rounds with him, and I just think Matt Brown's going to get a decision. I think it's just too tough for him, and his striking and his all-around game is just too good. Next up, we're going to be talking about Corey Anderson versus Shogun Rua. Now, I haven't really seen much from Corey Anderson. I've only seen, I think it was his fight where he won the Ultimate Fighter. I'm pretty sure he won the Ultimate Fighter. But we do know that Shogun Rua hasn't quite been, at the top of his career for a few years now. So it'll be interesting to see what Shogun shows up. I'm guessing that he's going to be very, very motivated to be fighting in Brazil in such a big stadium. This is 45,000 seats. This is something that hasn't been seen in Brazil yet, and we all know how passionate the Brazilian crowd is. So it'll be very interesting to see if they can really get behind a legend like Shogun and really push him to get back to what the Shogun that we used to see. That monster that was Shogun. And let's see what Corey Anderson can do taking this next step in his career, and see what he can do against some of the top 10. Maybe, I don't know what Shogun's ranked, probably around the top 8 in the light heavyweight division. I don't know what to expect. I think it's probably going to go to a decision, though, or Corey Anderson may maybe finish him, just because we've seen Shogun has been susceptible to being knocked out lately, and it'll be interesting to see. Next up, guys, we're going to talk about Cyborg Justino finally making her UFC debut against Leslie Smith. I don't see Leslie Smith really lasting more than the first round. She seems confident in the embedded series. She's kind of weird, but I just don't see anybody really going over a round with Cyborg, at least at that level. Maybe somebody like Miocic Tate or Holly Holm, but definitely not Leslie Smith. No disrespect to the girl, I just don't think she's gonna be able to compete with the power and just the ferocity that Cyborg puts on. I think it's probably going to be a pretty quick first round knockout, but it's definitely not making it past the first round. I would say probably in the first 2.5 minutes, but it may go to the later time of the first round, but I do not expect that to be the case. Next up, guys, let's go ahead and jump to the co-main event, which is going to be Vitor Belfort versus Jacare Souza. This also has the potential to be one of the better fights on the card. I think that Jacare Souza and Vitor are a pretty decent matchup, because Vitor has the jiu-jitsu, but he also has a lot better striking than what Jacare has. He's more technical anyway. Jacare has a lot more power. Actually, Vitor does have a lot of power, but I think Jacare probably just has a more power punching based striking techniques. But he definitely has a very big advantage on the ground. I think if it does go to the ground, then it's going to be an easy win for Jacare. But if Vitor can somehow keep it on the feet, unlike what he did against Chris Weidman, then he does have a chance. And I think that if he doesn't finish Jacare in the first round, then it's going to be a very long night for Vitor. I actually think that Jacare is going to get the decision win. I don't know if he'll be able to finish Vitor, but if he does, I think it'll happen in the later rounds, second or third. Actually, I'm going to go with the third round submission for Jacare. Now that I think about it, I think it's going to be a third round submission. Next up, guys, let's go ahead and talk about the main event. This is the fight that I've been looking forward to for quite a bit now. When you look at Stipe Miocic, he has the tools to beat Fabricio Werdum. Stipe is a quick fighter. He has very, very heavy hands. He has the wrestling. And most importantly, he has the wrestling defense, because that's what he's going to have to worry about against Fabricio Werdum. Although Fabricio doesn't usually go for wrestling takedowns, what he usually does is either get hit, pretend to be hurt, drop to the ground, and hope his opponent drops into his guard like he did against Fedor, like he did against Mark Hunt. So it'll be interesting to see if Stipe is smart enough to avoid that and stay out of his guard. What he really needs to do is use his boxing. Robin Black did a very good analysis of it. He needs to use his athletic boxing connect with the big shots, use his movement, because we've seen how he can change direction just like that. He's a very, very quick fighter. Even though maybe sometimes it doesn't really seem like it, he does have very athletic movement, and that's what he's going to need to use if he's going to be able to stick onto Fabricio Werdum without risking being taken down, because we've seen how Fabricio Werdum, ever since coming back to the UFC, has really improved his striking game. We see how, back in the day, he basically had to focus only on somehow getting his opponent to the ground, even though he didn't have the wrestling abilities to really do that against the top-level fighters in the UFC. Now, he doesn't even have to worry about being taken down or getting the fight to the ground because his striking is so good. I mean, you look at the Travis Brown fight, look at the Cain Velasquez fight, you look at the Mark Hunt fight for that matter. His striking is getting just so good that he has no reason to worry or even really consider the ground game. If he does go to the ground, whether it's him pulling guard or him pretending to be hurt or him getting taken down, he doesn't really care because his jiu-jitsu is that good. It's that much superior to anybody he's going to face. So he can just focus on fighting his fight and basically just, kicking ass. And that's something that Stipe has to worry about. He has to be careful. He has to use his boxing. He has to use, whatever. He has to use the big shots. I'm not necessarily saying that he just has to throw hooks and overhands and things like that. He just needs to use his movement to be able to get to Fabricio and hurt him. Because Fabricio is going to be the quicker striker, maybe less powerful, maybe less athletic, but he's going to be throwing quicker combinations, and he also has better kicks. That's something to take into consideration. But I do think Stipe is going to knock him out in the third round. I think that Stipe is very hungry. You can just see he's confident. He's been looking very good for quite a while now. You saw that fight against Junior Dos Santos. He had a very, very solid performance. Even though he did lose, it was one of those losses that really shows you just how good this guy is. Then he pummeled Mark Hunt. He beat Andrei Arlovski. I just think that he's in the right spot in his career to really, really push for that title. I think if he doesn't win it, he's going to have one hell of a performance and really make Fabricio work to defend his title. But I do think Stipe is going to end up becoming the UFC heavyweight champion and bringing that belt back to his hometown of Cleveland. Alright guys, let me know in the comments section down below who you think is going to win the main event and how you think it's going to end. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.